I was asked to tell you something about the Federal Documentation Center, Documentation and Consultation Center on wolves in Germany. And this is a novelty in Germany, as you sure know that for the wildlife, the hunting law is on the federal state basis and not on the whole country. And also the monitoring of wildlife normally is done on a federal state basis. And since the wolf returned and started to reproduce in the year 2000, the population was steadily growing, and therefore the federal states asked the government to have an organization who coordinates the information about the wolves, and to have the information in the whole country and not only in the federal states. And therefore they decided to invent the DBBW in 2016. And since 2019, it is online available, and this will go on. At the moment, it's planned to go on until 2025. And it was established to give advice to the national and federal conservation authorities, and also give information to other people and organizations to evaluate the hints for the presence of wolves all over Germany, and also to give a guideline or guidance in actions when a wolf or a pack shows untypical behavior, like approaching humans directly. And it was meant to collect all the monitoring data from all federal states and put them online, that those federal states, but also partly the information is also available for normal people. So these are the project partners, and they have built up a consortium, and the IZW is part of this. But first I want to mention the Federal Ministry for Environmental, Nature Conservation and Nuclear Safety, and the Federal Agency of Nature Conservation, who are the supervisors, and also the bring the finance for this consortium. And they also advise and inform the federal government and also the federal state authorities on topics according to the wolf. And another part is the Senckenberg as World of Biodiversity, the Senckenberg Research Institute, with their museum in Görlitz, and also the Institution for the Genetics in Gelnhausen. And they coordinate and manage the cooperation of the partners, and also do research on feeding habits in the wolves. They determine the age of wolves on the skull basis. And yeah, they do the genetic studies in wolves, but also in lynx in Germany. The Lupus Institution also is involved in the monitoring, first of all in the projects in Saxony, but also it supports the monitoring and the management of wolves in all federal states, and provide expert advices in cases of any questions of evolving with problems with wolves, and also with if there are questions on how to set up fences and all these things. They do also have other side projects according to the wolf on behalf of the federal government. Our institute, we are mainly doing research on the carcasses of the wolves, the post-mortem analysis, to find out the causes of death, and also if there were any hints for previous diseases, or if there's something spreading around. And we also do a determination on age basis, which is based on the computer tomography data on the teeth. At the moment, well, actually, the actual monitoring year is not available on the map on the website, because we collect the data from the federal states, and therefore the last full, so far full given data are from the monitoring year 2019 and 20, and there we already noticed 168 pairs of packs of wolves, but also some single territories. And you can see in this map from that year that mainly the wolf is in northern Germany, but there are already some occurring in the south. For the next 2 years, so the last finished wolf monitoring year, but also the ongoing monitoring year, not all occurrences or not all territories of the wolves are so far noticed again. So it will take a bit a few months until the last finished monitoring year will be online. With the rising of the wolf population, also the amount of dead wolves are rising, and therefore our work will not stop. On this map you see all dead found carcasses all over Germany. And you can go onto the website as well to take a look which cases have been found in which year. So now I will turn to the work of the IZW, and as I mentioned before, we take a look at the causes of death and infectious, if there were infectious diseases. But we also try to collect evidences in forensic cases, and try to find evidences for the police and for the investigators to find the person who might did the crime, we also collect evidences if there have been former accidents or anything else, what happened in the wolf's life. Therefore, we do first of all for every wolf a computer tomography, which is very important, as for if you find a very rotten old carcass of a wolf, you mostly don't see ammunition leftovers in the carcass. But with highly solution computer tomography, you can even find the slightest spots of ammunition. And therefore, we do this always in every case. And then afterwards, we do the checkup if it is really a wolf or if it is another animal, or we do the further necropsy and give samples for further lab work. And we already have over 600 wolves necropsies head on the table, and here you can see the last 10 years. And the most problem for the wolf in Germany, of course, is the human, and the traffic is one part, a huge part, but the poaching is not to be neglected. We have 11% of poaching in Germany, and there was one proof of wolf hunted to death by car. And we found 65 which were shot to death. The problem, as you can see here in this case, is a computer tomograph picture. That wolf was dead close to the shooting, but we also have cases where the wolf suffers for days or weeks due to the wound. This one lost the leg, and the leg was the missing leg was already filled with maggots, and there were many beetles already around the wounds. This wolf was found weeks later after he was shot, and he was shot above the spine, so that he could not reach the wounds and could not clean it, and of course it was covered with many maggots. So we have also not only poached wolves which died due to the poaching, we also had 23 cases where the wolf was shot but did not die due to the shooting. And we found 3 cases where wolves had been tortured. And as some of these carcasses which were found were slightly or very good hidden. For example, one carcass was drowned in a pond, and only because of that dry summer, the carcass floated on the edge of the water. It was stuck on a big beton block, so it was just found by accident due to the hot summer, and therefore, sure, the iceberg is much higher. We only see the tip of it. And so far, we do not have cases where we could find poisoning, but we still have it in mind, and we want to do some projects to find out whether there are some long-term poisoning in the wolves, and therefore we collect samples. But we already have seen cases in lynx, and we know there are probably more cases in lynx in Germany. Not all those cases are coming to our institute. It is difficult with the investigation for the police, especially when there's a big gap between the shooting and the dying of the animal, because also due to the licking of the animal and due to maggots destroying evidence and due to infection, many evidence often got lost. And also the concealment by the poachers could be seen very often. Therefore, it's really important if you find very rotten carcass, just don't do only X-ray, put it in a very high resolution computer tomography. If you have any suspicion that it might be shot. And Yeah, I just want to summarize. So the DBBW was invented in 2016, and it's mainly for the evaluation of the presence of the wolves and the data collection of the territories, the genetic age, and the causes of death. But also to not only advise and guide conservation authorities and governmental authorities, but also to give guidance in cases of problems, guidance on actions, and also to inform the public about the wolves in general, but also where it could be found and how they can react and so on. And yeah, not to neglect, we have 11% of wolves which were poached and 4% of wolves which have been tortured. And with this, I want to thank all the involved people and, of course, you for your attention.